Come on in, guys, because it's time for Outwatch, a Survivor Rewatch podcast. Folks, it's a big night. We are here live at Adam and Emily's house.
We're not live.
We are live right now.
This is
literally happening right now.
This is happening right now. And we're live because it's the finale of Survivor the Amazon, its 6th season. And as is Outwatch tradition, we are here in the same room watching this episode together, reacting, rewatching, and what was the third one? Recapping. Together in person. It's a grand day. Thanks, number one listener. You can send us an email, outwatchpodcast@gmail.com, and send us your application for why you should be included in the live studio audience for next season.
Better act quick, though. Better act quick.
I 100%. I want someone. I want a stranger to be here for this.
Just one person in the corner.
Emily's shaking her head no.
We'll get some like stadium seating behind us. It'll be.
Listen, Adam's brother is here, and he's never listened, and he's already startled. So,
Friend of the podcast, Michael here from Dungeon Arcade fame, but also joining me are our 3 other co-hosts, whom I will introduce to you now in order from 3rd place to 1st place in our Fantasy Survivor rankings, which are also up in the air tonight. Somebody will go home with a Zeta Pledge crown.
I love that.
First off, in 3rd place with 320 points, welcome to the show, Emily.
hey, thanks for having me here, even though I'm just dead weight at this point.
Not true. Not true.
In the Survivor
I think it's pretty close
league.
still.
Do you remember your last surviving tribe member?
We normally
No, I know it's Rob.
Yeah, you're rolling with Rob.
Obviously, it's Rob.
we normally have a list in front of us, but tonight we don't because
I have the screen. In 2nd place with 385 points is Scott with Tribe Bangarang. Welcome to the show.
Hello. I'm happy to be here. It's happy to be here. It's so good to finally see you guys in person.
Yes.
Really good, isn't it?
Wow.
Never actually seen you guys before.
This is weird.
I know we've done this 2 other times, but
It's the only time we ever see each other. Scott, you're rolling with Jenna coming in here to the finale. How are you feeling about your chances?
I am feeling confident because we're playing for the Zeta Pledge crown.
Indeed we are.
I feel that energy tonight. I feel like it's going to carry me home.
Channel the Zeta Pledge crown. Yeah. And in 1st place with 410 points, if you're keeping track at home, that's a 25-point lead, is Adam and the Believe in Yourself and Aliens tribe. Welcome to the show.
oh, it's so good to be here.
So proud of him.
I'm so proud of being in 1st place.
He looks real cocky over there.
Yeah, I know.
Here's the
He looks real
thing.
cocky.
I know I have Butch and someone else, and I don't know who it is.
It's the other one of the 4 players who are left in the game that we haven't met.
Oh, is it Matthew?
Yes,
Matthew, yeah. I like my team, is what I've
You did not, though, like 3 episodes ago.
No, I didn't. You're right.
holding us accountable.
I
You
wasn't.
tried to trade every single one of them.
Number one listener,
No.
bringing us back to the truth.
Here's what I would say. I mean I like the people that are on my
Yeah,
team.
you chose them for a reason.
I have no issue with the people that I chose at any point during this game. They were a terrifying team to have a majority of the game.
I'm glad that your namesake, Butch, the inspiration for your team name is still here. Even though his banner did not survive the Great Fire.
Yeah.
It didn't believe in
he
itself
lives
hard
on.
enough.
So let's really quickly break down what's going to happen tonight. Like we do for every live finale, we are going to watch the episode live, and during the commercial breaks, we're going to pause the episode and talk through what just happened. So the format's going to be a little different than our normal pod. So we'll be reacting live in the moment here together. And at the end of the night, we will crown the champion not only of Survivor the Amazon, but perhaps more importantly, this season of Fantasy Survivor. Brief reminder of who we've got left in the game. It's a final 4 at the finale, as is old school tradition. And we're working with Matthew, Butch, Rob, and Jenna. The most recent casualty was Heidi. Heidi just voted out. And we'll see how everybody comes down from that big move. Before we start the episodes, let's get on record here with our pre-episode predictions for who we expect to come away as the champion of Survivor the Amazon. Adam, if you have to put up a guess, who would you put your money on tonight?
I think Rob is a really strong choice. I think I'm going to go with Rob. I know he has a lot of controversy surrounding the way he's played the game, but he has played it the best. So I'm going with Rob.
Rob. Emily, what do you think?
Well, you know what they say, believe in yourself. So I'm going to go with Rob.
I thought you were going to go with Butch.
Believe in me.
Scott?
I'm going to go with Matthew, just
Okay.
to be a
There
contrarian.
you go.
Matthew.
I think it's a good pick.
He's got the physical threat. We'll see what happens.
Matthew's stock has risen a lot in the last
really.
2 or
Yeah.
3 episodes.
Yeah.
And Rob may have made enough people angry.
Yeah. That's his big thing, is he has to overcome that.
Yeah. All right, well, I think we've properly set up what's going to happen tonight, so without further ado, why don't we fire the episode? All right, we just watched the first bit of the finale. We got some recap action, then the tribe gets back after tribal, and it's clear to everyone, it seems, that Jenna's the person who will be voted out at the following tribal council, but then, as a major twist, Jenna wins the immunity challenge.
Let's go!
It's just terrible.
Tribe Bangarang's lone member will survive another tribal, leaving Rob, Butch, and Matthew vulnerable to elimination. Scott, what are you feeling knowing that Jenna has secured herself a place in the final 3?
I'm feeling more hopeful than I was 20 minutes ago. Obviously, it's good. You want, at this point, just racking up points. She's all I got. So the better she does today, hopefully that means I can win and pull off the comeback. So I'm excited. Hopefully this continues.
Emily, would you paint a picture of this challenge to our listeners at home? How did this challenge? What was the structure of the challenge?
Did we talk about it at all? Did we say it was a maze?
No.
Okay, so here's what's happening. It's a maze. There are...
It's a maze. I love it.
It's amazing.
No. There are 4 necklaces that everyone needs to collect. One is earth, one is wind, one is fire, one is water. And they're all blindfolded as they try and work through the maze and get one of each necklace and make it to the center. And they look, obviously, like they're blindfolded. There's a lot of shots of Butch just at dead ends. You'd think he would have figured out it was a dead end, but no, he stays there for quite a long time just holding his hands out, touching the walls, really
Poor
getting a
Butch.
feel for where he is.
Just really wanted to make sure he never came to that dead end again.
Yeah.
Came one with the course.
Yeah. Jenna just flew through it, though.
Yeah, it really wasn't close, right? Matthew didn't have his 4th by the time that she got there, right?
Right.
So
Yeah, Matthew was on the hunt for his 4th. And
Yeah.
he was in the right region, but
yeah. So we talked a lot going into this about how Matthew is such a challenge beast, but it fails him in this juncture, at least, with Jenna getting the victory. So going into this tribal council now, Jenna's safe, and now it looks like the 3 men have to eat one of their own. Adam, how do you foresee this tribal council shaking out?
I can see them going after Matt. He's such a strong physical threat, like we were talking about. Whether that was on air or off air, he's so strong, and so if he makes it to, and I know old Survivor, it's usually an endurance challenge of some kind. So if he makes it to an endurance challenge, he's probably winning immunity, going to the final 2.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to head that off, the right move is to get rid of Matt.
Yeah.
But I mean, Rob has ticked some people off.
Mm-hmm.
Butch is an easy target.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you could make an argument for just about any of them at this point. Yeah, the interesting thing about Matthew is I think as viewers we're led to not know what to do with him as far as a final tribal council performer, because
Right.
for 90% of the game, Rob's dragging him along as like the GOAT. But then in these last 2 or 3 episodes, it's like his stock has risen a lot. Rob is starting to voice doubts about whether it's wise to take him to the end anymore. So, yeah, we'll see how it shakes out. Scott, do you have any predictions going into this tribal council?
I feel like it's going to be Matt. I feel like Rob has kind of got Butch kind of wrapped around his finger, more or less. I feel like Rob will be persuasive, and I think Rob survives to another round. I think Matt goes home.
Wrapped around his fingers, which are still against the dead end. Feeling for a way out.
That's the thing. If this was any other season of Survivor, like, you would see Rob go home here. Like, this is, like, it's such a tactical, easy thing to pull off by any player to get Rob out. But there's just such a lack of strategy in this that it's so difficult to see them actually getting rid of Rob.
Yeah, and we've, like, through this whole season, like, we have seen, like, Butch and Matthew especially, like, trade their agency, like, away to Rob and just, like, allow him to tell them what to do. So, will they break free of that? We shall see. Anything else to add from that last bit that we just watched before we start the next segment?
I said it off air twice, I'll say it on air once. I love a blindfolded maze challenge.
Yes. Not a lot of things to bump into, though. Usually they like put things like at knee level just so that you like get tabletopped.
Yeah, I
None
hate
of that
that.
this time.
The turnstile maze in the last season that we did was amazing.
Yeah,
like, that
really
is
good.
amazing. It's probably my favorite challenge, like, for sure. But this was a good one still.
It is.
It was
well
muddy
timed.
and gross.
Yeah. All right. Great. Well, let's start the next part of the episode. Okay, and we're back, having just watched the first tribal council of this episode, whereby, in a vote of 3-1, Butch was eliminated from Survivor, taking home the 4th place trophy, if such a thing exists. This, I think, was unexpected, based on how y'all reacted. Adam, you lost one of your final 2 members. Well, did you see this coming?
I mean, I thought it was possible. I don't feel like it was I don't feel like the decision was between the right 2 people, is where I'm at.
Yeah.
Like, I think Rob was on the chopping block for a minute there, and I think that makes sense. I don't think it makes sense to get rid of Butch, though. Like, he hasn't done anything.
Why are you laughing at me?
You sound like the Will Ferrell SNL. It's the moon we're made.
It's an easy question,
It's an easy question.
You didn't sound like yourself.
Would you eat it?
Would you eat it? That's what my friends call me.
Whiskers. Curious, like, right.
I didn't know where it came from.
Oh,
I'm so glad we got to call that out.
False.
I couldn't even listen to what you were saying.
I have no idea what you said.
I did not realize I sounded so differently.
Which I loved it. It's just a stretch.
Oh, goodness. Matthew goes home here. Sorry, Butch goes home here, not Matthew. I mixed up Adam's remaining 2 tribe members. Adam's breaking chairs.
It's all right. We're good.
Nothing's new here.
Adam, would you do the honorable thing and eulogize Butch's game here as he takes home 4th place?
You know, Butch might not have played the best Survivor game, but he's probably played one of the best human games we've seen of a Survivor contestant. He really taught us to believe in ourselves.
Yes.
Really drove the women and really included Christy.
Yes.
Which is a really big get. He was the grandpa of the sorts of the Survivor tribes. Really just all around good guy. He deserved to be there.
He's the reason that they alert if you have a high risk of forest fire.
It's true.
That's why Smokey the Bear has a job.
Yeah. Actually, Smokey the Bear in his office, it's like enemy number 1. It's Butch's picture. Wild.
You know, Butch was originally the mascot for the National Wildlife Service or whatever it is. And then they replaced him with a bear. Maybe the most interesting thing to come of this segment was the secret alliance between Matthew and Jenna, whereby Matthew approaches her and says, hey, if you vote Butch out instead of Rob tonight, I promise to take you with me to the final two if I win, if you promise to take me with you if you win. Interesting strategy. For both Jenna and Jenna and Matthew, do you think this is a good move on their part if they do lock into this? Scott, what do you think about the secret alliance?
Well, as opposed to the other not secret alliances.
Yes.
I mean, I think for Matt, in theory, it's probably a good move to take Jenna because Rob is very. I mean, assuming there's no super vindictive jury or
Sure.
I think Jenna's probably the one to take because I feel like Rob's done more and people know that.
Mm-hmm.
However, for Jenna, I mean, I don't know. She's gonna. I feel like she's gonna be the underdog, quote unquote, in whoever she's with if she gets to the final two. So
it could also just be a sort of thing where no one really thought that she'd make it to the final, and so the fact that she made it to the final might say to people, "Oh yeah, she deserves to win." She was an underdog the whole time. This is just always the hardest part of this podcast is when we're trying to predict the jury.
Yeah.
It's just you have no idea.
the human element's hard to read.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you can read into a lot of the relationships that existed, but then also there's so much that you don't see on the camera. These people spent 37 days together, there's a lot that goes on there that you don't see.
Yeah.
Who did Dina have the best relationship with?
She and Rob had a good, they had an alliance for most of the game.
But Rob was the one who stabbed her in the back.
Yeah, Rob's the one who
But
did it,
here's
right?
the thing that I was just thinking about too is, so I honestly forget, when people join the jury, I kind of forget where they left off in the game, but they are still going to tribal council and seeing players and hearing what they have to say as they're going through the game. So I wonder, for example, for Dina, probably really mad at Rob,
right?
But as she's seeing him move through this game, maybe she kind of removes herself a bit and sees him as a strategic player. I think there's a lot of factors that's hard for us to kind of determine.
Yeah, and that's
outside.
That's the question: is how good is the jury member at moving beyond this person screwed me out of winning $1 million,
Yeah,
and into I've lost. Who deserves to win now? It's such a hard question of
right.
who is able to move on, and especially the longer you're in. Alex, I think he genuinely hates Rob now. I don't think that I don't think that Rob will ever win his vote. But I could see Dina absolutely being you know what? I get the move. It was a great move. It screwed me, but it was a good move. So
yeah, I was literally about to say the longer you're probably in the jury, the less kind of bitter you are, and you're able to move past it probably better.
Yeah. Imagine if it's Rob that goes out here at Final Four, thinking he's in the catbird seat to use a Jeff Probstism.
Yeah.
And then you get the game swept out from under you like that. You're probably bitter at this point, thinking I should be there. You know,
I deserve it.
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah. Interesting stretch here, and now we're down to our final three, being Matthew, Rob, and Jenna. One representative from each of the three fantasy tribes. Everybody's still in it, guys. Remember that you get 10 points for every vote at Final Tribal, meaning there's a possible, I think, 9 votes up for grabs, or 90 points, that is. So it's anyone's game still. Before we get into a points update, anything else from that sequence that is worth talking about? I guess we didn't really talk about why they did vote out Butch. That was a thing, as it was happening, the chatter was why vote out Butch? He seems like somebody you can beat easily,
They seem very focused on who deserves to be here now for some reason.
Yeah.
Which I guess if you're trying to decide who deserves to be here, whatever that means, I don't know that Jenna's done that much. Like, I don't feel like... And Butch does so much around the camp and, like, everything like that. So I don't see how we're, like... How they're seeing it. But it's also probably this sort of, like, well, it's not me, so I don't care, like, kind of thing. And this is my reasoning, so...
Yeah, it's like early Survivor, like, kind of move, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like in today's game, they'd be like, forget it. Butch is my guy.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Well, and especially, like, you have to make a case to the jury for why you deserve $1 million over the person sitting next to you.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, really, what has Butch done in the game? Like, he can argue, like, I was a provider. I built the dock and I caught fish and that. At the end of the day, like, he had no hand in voting anyone out. Like, that makes so much sense to sit next to that person.
Yeah.
Stephen Fishback, Survivor legend, has said that from season to season, it, like, varies why exactly the jury votes for a certain person. But the one thing that is always consistent is that the jury members have to feel good about the person that they vote to win. Whether that's because it's, like, a good person... It's a combination of all these things, right? Like, they like them as a person. They're, like, real life is such that, like, they would use the money, like, well, and they, like, played a good game or whatever. It's a combination of any sort of things. But, like, the bottom line is that they have to feel good about voting for the person to win, right? Mm-hmm. And so, like, that could be, for some people, it's like, yeah, Butch is a really great guy. He is an inspirational person. I'd love for him to win, you know? For somebody else, it could be that, like, Rob played a great game that, like, I'm proud to have represent my season, you know? And so it's tough to figure out what the reason is, but they just have to feel good about it.
Well, I mean, if anyone asks, you know, what are you going to do with $1 million?
Yeah.
Like, Butch's answer is, I'm going to use it to help outdoor adventure kids.
Yeah.
Like, that's a hard thing to, like...
Yeah.
To look at and be like, you know what, I'm gonna buy a lobster dinner. Like, what's, you know, like, what is Rob gonna do with it?
Like
you
the
know,
Johnny Fairplay answer.
Yeah.
He never gave that answer, but that's probably what he would say.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so yeah, it is like, it's, you know, it's always hard to predict a jury.
Yeah. That's a really good point, and like, there's been I was like, have like seen examples of this recently for whatever reason, but like, so Rupert like never wins Survivor, right? But he won like a fan vote and won like $1 million that way, and he like used it to start like a nonprofit organization that like still exists. You know, it's like a cool thing. And then I'll spoil a season that we're not probably ever gonna watch. Spoilers for Survivor Africa. Is this? Yeah, we're almost never gonna watch this one. Spoilers for Survivor Africa. Skip ahead 30 seconds if you don't want it.
If you're gonna go back and binge watch.
Yeah.
Survivor Africa.
Season 3. When Ethan wins Survivor Africa, that's third season, he talks about how like this experience here has made him. He's like a soccer coach or something. It's makes him want to like use soccer to like start some sort of like nonprofit to like help kids or whatever. And he creates this organization called Grassroots Soccer that now has raised like hundreds of millions of dollars for things, right? And it's like just dope to like think about, first of all, that like this guy used this money for like a really good purpose that has done like a lot of good. But yeah, if you can get to the end and like say that and mean it, like that has to play a factor too. So
yeah.
Ethan's a wonderful winner, but that season is just not a great season. All right, let's do a quick points update unless there's anything else from that part that we want to talk about. Wonderful. Okay, in that section of the episode, Jenna won immunity, also voted correctly and survived, so that's an extra 20 points for Tribe Bangarang.
Yeah.
Emily got 10 points from Rob, Adam got 10 points from Matthew, and 0 for Butch. And now our points total is Emily's in third place with 330 points. In second place still is Tribe Bangarang with 405 and a slimmer lead at 420 points. 420 blaze it. Is Tribe Believe in Yourself and Aliens with a 15-point lead coming into the home stretch.
Lost our namesake.
Butch is gone.
How many points am I up? 5?
15.
15.
15.
I feel like it's gonna be close.
I think it's going to be
I
tight.
think it's gonna be tight.
It's going to be tight.
I'm getting stressed
Well,
out.
We both need to get someone in the final.
I know.
So it's like
I know.
3:30.
True. All right, let's
you can grab 90
keep
points
going.
if she's got the winner. Then.
Whoa!
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 We just watched the next bit of this episode, the immunity challenge, and the second tribal council of the episode. The rundown is this: Jenna won the final immunity challenge, which was an endurance competition, and then had the choice to take either Rob or Matthew to the end. And with her one vote, she cast it for Rob, who was voted out, and a hair shy of making it to the final tribal council. Emily, your final team member has been eliminated. What happened? What happened to Rob? Why was he not taken to the end?
Because Jenna got immunity and Jenna doesn't like him. It's interesting because she even had this little speech before she voted, and she was like, I don't want to make the easy choice. I'd rather actually win against my biggest competition. But I think all of that was her saying, F you, Rob. I don't want you to win.
Yeah. Could be.
That's what I think.
Emily, would you paint a picture of Rob's game, for which he is so well known? What was the name of his game? Eulogize his time out here in the Amazon.
Sure. I think Rob was the ringleader for a lot of this game. As he said earlier in this episode, he feels lucky because when he needed to zig, he zigged, and when he needed to zag, he zagged. And I think that is really what he did. He was just very opportunistic and at times would make people mad. And I think ultimately that was kind of his downfall, because I do believe that Jenna just didn't want him to be in the final. But overall, I think he played a risky game that we didn't really see from a lot of other players.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good point. And that from a strategic perspective, did he really do anything wrong? From a pure strategy perspective, probably not. But from the social perspective of getting the people to want to take you along, maybe that's where he failed.
Mm-hmm.
So I forgot that the sequence of this happened the way that it does, where they go straight from the challenge to tribal. I feel like Rob really got gypped by that, because I think that if Rob gets the chance to go back to camp and pitch to Jenna why she should take him instead, his odds go way up of being able to out-talk Matthew, in convincing her to take him to the end. I don't know if that's enough to change her mind, but I think that he definitely has a better shot.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with that is Matt would be there and he'd be like, hey, we had an agreement. I would have taken you.
Yeah.
So, there's this other, guilt half of that. But Rob's whole appeal is, hey, everyone hates me. Mm-hmm. You should take me. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of a hard thing to pass up too. I think you're right. I think it increases his chances, but I don't know that it actually changes anything. She really didn't like Rob at the end there.
How big of a factor do you think that #secret alliance was in Jenna's decision making here?
I think of the people left, Jenna was probably the one person who is most likely to adhere to that alliance. Rob's super opportunistic, and it's worked for him. He's gotten as far as he has in the game. Matt, I could see him being like, you know what, I agree to this, I'm going to do it. But also I could see him being like, Rob's been my boy the whole game. I'm taking Rob. That's just done. Jenna doesn't like Rob anyway. Has, this, she's made it known that she thinks it's really shady the way that Rob has promised this and then not done this. So it's kind of hypocritical of her to promise this and not do it. I think it plays a huge factor for Jenna in particular.
Yeah. Another part of of this sequence that was interesting was that we get a confessional from Matthew saying that he thinks maybe he should throw this challenge so that whoever is voted out by the winner doesn't resent Matthew for not taking him. And he is out first, like well before everyone else, and so we can speculate on whether he did that on purpose or not at this point. Scott, if this was Matthew's strategy, do you think that now that we can be results oriented and see that he was taken, was this a smart move for him to throw the challenge, if indeed that is what he did?
I mean, I don't see how it isn't a good thing for him, because literally if that was what he was going for, it worked, because he doesn't have to say like, yeah, I voted Rob out or I voted Jenna out. So we'll see if it winds up working out and if he wins or not, but he truly doesn't have to say that. So
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't have to break promise with anybody now.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. So we've got Matthew and Jenna as the final two. I think an unlikely pair if you run this back to the beginning of this podcast. I don't think that anybody would have chosen these two as two to make it deep in the game. Matthew was picked, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th, I believe, overall by Adam. And
he
then
was down there. I think he was my third pick.
He was your second pick.
Or my second pick.
And then Jenna was Scott's third pick, so not high on the draft board. Yeah.
We got a lot of value out of those picks.
We really did.
You did.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of draft capital went into that.
Is this what's wrong with your game? Is you don't understand like drafting strategies?
Maybe.
Emily, as the neutral observer now. Maybe not neutral.
Yeah, Emily is now rooting for the person who voted her team out of the race. Right? Because you're on Jenna's side now.
Correct.
Yeah. So this isn't about your team even. This is about my 3P.
Try Bangarang welcomes all.
The bandwagon is open.
Yeah, let's go.
We haven't seen final tribal council performances, which is always a big factor in the vote. But at this point, who do you think comes out on top between Jenna and Matthew? Pre-final tribal.
Oh my gosh. That's actually very difficult, I think, because I think both of them can argue that they have really played this game. They haven't been necessarily the leaders in it, but they've been strategic in the way that they've followed those leaders, especially Matthew in these past couple of sequences in this show. This episode itself, he's come out and said some very strategic things that I feel like he's just been sitting on because he's been just riding with Rob this whole time. So I think he's been made out to be kind of a dum-dum, just moving forward, doing whatever Rob wants, but I don't think that's really how he was playing. And I think, and that's what we've talked about in previous episodes too with Jenna, is she's kind of playing like the LOL, I'm a girl, like whatever, but she's playing that to her advantage. So I think both of them have got a good shot of winning. Mm-hmm. That's my very long and diplomatic way of saying I'm not sure.
Yeah. It's really interesting from going into the fantasy score breakdown now. Emily, with Rob being eliminated here, your final tally is going to be 330 points. And then Adam receiving 5 points from Matthew because he survived but did not cast a vote, therefore could not vote correctly. And then Scott gaining 20 points from Jenna, who voted correctly, survived, and won individual immunity. We're at a deadlock tie at 425, meaning that the winner of Survivor will be the winner of our Fantasy Survivor. Even more wild is that Matthew and Jenna have equal individual points totals.
Are you serious?
Over the course of the season.
That's awesome!
Both have earned 170 points, which is the most of anyone. And so if you're looking just at the numbers, we're at a virtual deadlock here.
But that's the thing, like, we've criticized Jenna about the roles that she's played in this game, but like Matt, like she has the same score as Matt, which means she's won immunity, she has voted correctly, she's made it through like critical moments, like like that's really cool actually. Like
Shows that she's played too.
Is this
Yeah.
what it's like to like stats in sports? Like, 'cause I don't, I've never really understood stats, but I think I do now.
So,
Yeah.
so we are approaching the end of this season. I think we still have the walk down memory lane sequence, which we will surely fast forward through.
Oh no, we'll
Yeah.
pause afterwards. We'll do a quick
No.
little
Remember
recap.
of everyone.
We eulogize every single person.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
You guys remember Daniel?
Kind of.
Couldn't walk across a balance beam to save his life.
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
did
I
struggle.
do remember that.
All right, we're at the home stretch now, folks. We'll see you after this next part of the episode. folks, we are not well. We're not well. We just watched Final Tribal. What a crap show, as Jenna would say. I don't even know where to begin. We watched through Final Tribal. We've seen everything but the votes. And I think it's safe to say that just across the board, just a bad showing from everyone involved. Does anyone think differently about how that went?
I think Heidi had a really good question.
Yeah.
She just didn't end it well. The problem was she was looking for an answer.
That was hilarious.
Anybody else?
Because Heidi's question was, does anyone sitting on the jury deserve to be in your seat more than you do?
Yeah.
And that's a really good question because it really it tells the jury how they think the game should be judged.
Mm-hmm.
And you could easily look at her and say, you know what, like I don't even know what that means because I'm sitting here, which means I deserve to be here. And no one on the jury made it here, so no one deserves to be here more than me because I made it. You could easily say something like that, and that's a valid answer. Or you could be like, Rob deserves. He was super strategic. The problem was Heidi wanted someone to say that Heidi deserved to be there more than Jenna.
Yeah, they both said Rob, and then she was like, "So, anyone else? Is there anyone else that you think
That was,
did a really good job?"
A little desperate.
And Jeff's like, "I think they're done."
Yeah, that was bad. The question I thought was more interesting was, or maybe the only interesting question based on how that one played out, was talk about why the other person doesn't deserve it.
Uh-huh.
I think that was helpful because when both of them gave their opening statements, I was so underwhelmed.
Yeah.
Jenna started and she basically said, "Yeah, I just kind of trust you that you know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks."
Yeah.
That was all she said.
Yeah.
And Matthew didn't say much else. He was like, "Yeah, that also I did some fishing. Thank you."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
It's like honesty,
That was
integrity,
very
fishing.
lame.
I don't know what else you want from me.
yeah,
I
I felt like they gave better answers to the question of why is the other person less deserving?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But then we had some equally petty questions.
Oh
Yes.
yes.
For sure.
I don't basically the rest of them all honestly were either really petty or really dumb questions. Like Dina's question,
Dina asked Matthew why he said that may the best man win or whatever.
Yeah, which I understand where she's coming from, but also it's a really wild interpretation of that phrase.
Sure.
I understand what she's saying there.
Well,
That
what
the
she's
assumption.
getting at is that you
Yeah.
were being really arrogant, thinking that your alliance was going to make it, and
But the problem is that phrase is literally "may the best man." It's
but
just because he didn't say
it.
person.
No. He meant it in terms of the alliance of men.
I don't think he did.
He
yes,
did.
that was
think
the
it-
implication.
He did.
Yes.
I think he did.
Yes.
When did he say it though?
He,
I don't know,
he
but
said
that
it
was the
right
implication.
before they came back.
Yeah, go.
It's
No.
okay. This is
You
our number one
remember,
fan,
you
so
remember
we
what
can talk.
happened.
Yeah,
so,
so it was right. So it was the three of them and Jenna, and he said, "May the best man win." Right after, it was about to be, it was gonna decide. Yeah, he knew that she was not gonna win. He knew
yeah.
that she was not gonna win the immunity.
Yeah, and at the
necklace.
beginning of this episode, I think we talked about this. Jenna was like, "Hey guys, thanks so much. Loved playing with you. I know I'm going home."
Uh-huh.
It was just an implication, and he admitted to that too. He wasn't like, "Oh, I'm sorry you took it that way. I didn't mean it that way." He was like, "Yeah, I thought we were in it. I thought we had a in." So she was calling out for that.
That's fair. I don't know. I think that's fair, and that's probably right. when I hear "May the best man win," my instinct is not that someone is saying like, "Oh, we're excluding women."
Right.
And I think like if Rob had said that, or if I know what you're saying.
I
but,
get
like,
what you're saying.
I think if like Rob had said that, I would have been like, yeah, no, that's what he meant. Like he meant "May the best man win." Like Jenna's gone, but like Matt, like of anyone in this game who's gonna be a chauvinist, is Matt really the person that we're going to accuse of this?
Well, yeah, I just think the point was he
Yeah.
didn't give Jenna a fair shake.
And that's fair, and that's a fair thing for Dina to bring up.
Right.
Also, I think it's easy to say as a man,
Yeah,
you think "May the best man win" means everybody, but as a woman, when you hear it,
yeah.
you feel excluded.
No, and that's yeah.
And in this situation, they weren't even talking about her,
True.
right,
so it's double.
right,
Yeah,
right.
which
They're
I think
both
is
there.
yeah, that's definitely the point. Here's my question. Most of these questions that the jury asked were very petty LaBelle. How do we get past those?
Petty LaBelle.
Yes. I can't claim that that's one of my good friends' phrases. She'll never hear this because she doesn't listen and she shouldn't. But
Everyone should listen.
I'll tell her I said that. No, for real. In future seasons, do they still do this? And are the questions any better?
They get better.
Do you think they
Yeah.
coach them a bit?
Maybe.
Because a
This
lot
is,
of this is just airing grievances and not really helping get to a decision.
Yeah,
We've
for
seen
sure.
2 other seasons like that are beyond this one.
And they all seem pretty. There's also been a lot of petty questions.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about like present day.
Okay.
You remember Trish's final tribal question at Cagayan?
Did you swear on your father?
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Or was it worth it? Yes.
Yeah, there's always a mix. Some other highlights, of course, was Dave asking which modern influential leader
Oh
did
my
you base your
gosh.
game
Oh my
off of?
gosh.
Hilarious. Bangarang.
Christy.
Yeah.
Yeah, Christy just tore into him,
Yeah.
which was fun. Alex came out in his best Jeff Probst cosplay in his cargo pants and blue shirt.
Literally from the side, it looked like Jeff.
It
It's
did.
true, yeah.
Looked very
It was
similar.
confusing. They
And
cut
they-
between the two.
Yeah, and they had the first shot of him was pretty far away, and I genuinely thought it was Jeff.
Yeah. It was a cluster all the way around.
Yeah. Yeah, this like...
I wonder. I want to know like how many people went into this. Like I'm gonna ask a question that will actually change my vote, or I know who I'm voting for, so I'm just gonna air grievances.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seemed
Yeah.
like most people knew who they were voting for.
Right.
Yeah. Which I think answers my question earlier of if you are on the jury long enough to see people play the game, do you move past your bitterness? No,
Yeah.
you do not.
In this case, at least, I think it's a no. So this, like, yeah, was such a weird final tribal because the questions were very odd, and they, like, almost didn't seem like they wanted to try and, like, say the things that would help them win. They, like, answered in such a way that is like, is this even a helpful thing to say? So, really weird final tribal in a what is overall a really, like, weird season, you know? And I don't know how much there was to be gained from what happened, but I'll ask each of you what you think is going to happen, or rather, I'll ask the two of you with dogs still in the fight to make a case for your combatant, and then Emily to give us your take on what you think is going to happen when the votes shake out. So, Scott, why don't you go first? Make your case for Jenna.
Jenna has been on the side of the
You
numbers.
should have just said, "I don't know."
I don't know.
She's been on the side of the numbers this entire game. When it was the all-women's tribe at the beginning, she was part of that. And when they mixed up tribes, she carefully executed her way to the numbers there.
She did.
She's won some challenges. We've figured out she's basically a statistical equal with Matt. Homegirl has played the game. Homegirl deserves to win.
Well said. Better said than Jenna.
Yep.
Better said than Jenna.
Yeah.
They're
Well, she
probably
doesn't.
like-
She doesn't have the stats that we do, so it's
Right. They're probably just tired.
it's harder to. Honestly, 39 days, like malnourished, you've lost 30 pounds. Like
I'm not thinking long.
I'm not sure I'd be able to put together that many coherent
No.
sentences.
Adam, why should Matthew be the winner?
You know, I think that Matthew played a really great game. He honestly was honest with the majority of the people that he played with. he made a few moments where he wasn't honest, but they were all extremely strategic. It wasn't just laissez-faire. He worked hard in the camp. You know, honesty, integrity, and fishing. I think that really just sums up Matt.
Honesty, integrity, fishing.
Plus, he doesn't have a real job.
H-I-F.
He needs the money.
He needs that money. The restaurant game isn't going to last much longer. The recession is right around the corner. He needs the money.
If only they had the foresight that we do.
if only they were 13 years past.
After watching Final Tribal, how do you expect things to go here?
I actually think Matthew's in a better position to win, which, based on my track record, means that Jenna's going to win.
No.
So we'll see.
Say Jenna's going to win.
Adam believes in the power. I'm like jinxing.
Oh, you're jinxing.
No, I think he had a better. I think they both tried to play like, I didn't screw anyone over too badly in this game,
Yeah.
but then he also was able to draw more on like the way that he's used strategy, and I think a lot more people, based on my personal calculations, a lot more people went after Jenna in their questions.
Yeah.
So we will see how that plays out.
All right, well, let's go ahead and watch the votes be revealed. Wowzers, Bowsers, folks! The winner of Survivor the Amazon by a final vote of 6-1 is Jenna Maraska.
6-1?
He really only got one vote.
One vote from his boy Butch.
Butch.
One.
That's it?
Bowser!
Everyone else
Butch.
voted for Jenna.
Gosh.
Jenna Maraska, the winner of Survivor the Amazon, and of course, that means that Scott, having received 60 points here in the final round to Adam's 10, gives you a 50-point victory, and the winner of Survivor the Amazon Fantasy Survivor. Congratulations.
This is truly one of the highlights of my life.
You broke Adam's streak.
Yes.
His undefeated streak will end at 2. And now you get to be the proud owner of a Zeta Pledge crown.
Really, that's what it's all about. You know, all the blood, sweat, and tears. You know, the Zeta crown's gonna make it all worth it.
The Zeta crown.
Matthew falls short. Jenna gets the win. Scott, why do you think that Jenna was deserving of the championship?
Well, much the
Well,
Do you think she was deserving?
she deserved it, okay? No. But like I said before, I feel like she was like always on the side of the numbers, and I feel like she made her run when she had to. So,
what are you doing with your hood?
My ears get hot.
we got
So, yes, he does. So Adam is disappointed that he didn't win. He put the hood of his sweatshirt up, but
So
his
sad.
ears get hot.
Yeah.
So he stuck his ears out, and he looks like Dobby the dwarf.
I am surprised though.
Sorry, that totally stole your thunder.
No, it didn't. But I am surprised that she
No,
won.
it didn't.
It really didn't. I'm surprised that she won 6-1 though. I figured it'd be
Yeah.
closer than
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, that was surprising.
Yeah, I would say I think she deserved to be there, but I didn't think she deserved to be there that much.
Right, I think that's the thing that gets me about it is I really expected it to be like it was going to be a 4-3 win.
Yeah.
Like, someone was going to win, and I mean, and you jinxed me by saying you thought Matt was going to. So
Oh, victory! I finally picked something right.
I think that when most people look back at this season, they think of it as the one that Rob should have won. And
Was robbed.
yeah, he was robbed.
Rob was
A
robbed.
robbed God. Robbed Rob. And so, yeah, I think that Jenna is not the most, like, respected winner for that reason, but when you look at the stats, she performed really well in this season from a numbers perspective. She voted incorrectly only twice in this season, and that was when Heidi got voted out and when Alex got voted out, two of her tightest allies in a really tight vote. Those were the only 2 times that she voted wrong. Matthew, on the other hand, never voted incorrectly, but you could also make the... Actually, he did in the very first vote, and that was it.
I was going to say he was like alliance with whatever his name was.
Ryan
Ryan.
and Daniel. But you could, of course, make the argument that he just did whatever Rob told him to, and so really Rob voted incorrectly 0 times, and Matthew just followed orders. But I think perhaps most impressively of Jenna's claim to the title is that she won 4 individual immunities, which...
I was going to say, she won a lot in immunities.
She won a lot.
That was not Rob's strength.
Yeah, won 4 individual immunities, which is tied with 3 other players for the most individual immunity wins of any female player. She's also the first female in her 20s to win Survivor. She was the youngest, to this point in the recording of Survivor, the youngest person to have ever won.
21, right?
Yep, and still to this day is the youngest female to have ever won. And so, while she doesn't have the kind of standout in-your-face game that maybe you look for in a winner, her relationships with the people on the jury and her physical success on the challenges really got her there. And I think that's something that's talked about with winners a lot, especially recently, is like finishing strong, where people can forget or put less weight in the first 30 days compared to the last 7, and she really did have her best stretch of the game and the finale tonight. She came on really strong and secured the victory. So any other takes on Jenna as our winner?
I think this is actually something that we get really hung up on, is how bad players are strategically in the social and voting out portion of the game, that we don't give as much credit as we should to the way they are performing in the immunity challenges.
Yeah.
Because she performed when she needed to perform and got the protection when she needed the protection. Just the stats show that in a way that if you just look at the way that we've talked about her this entire season, she sounds like a really bad player, but if we look at the stats, she did really well at the end of the day. So I think, I don't know, as much as we might think that, as much as we kept saying Rob or Matt, Jenna crushed it.
Yeah.
No argument.
Sweeping the final 2 immunities.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
And she I don't know, we kind of joked at the points she made, but she has a point in saying that people in her demographic are definitely underestimated or viewed a certain way, at least in the game of Survivor, right? And for her to come out and definitely be perceived in the ways that she expected to be perceived and still come out as the winner is definitely impressive. We have to talk about the vote transportation sequence.
Yes.
Which was a good 5 minutes long.
And I drew that out. I felt like I was on the ski-doo with him.
It was a lot. Scott, would you explain to our listeners what this sequence was?
Yeah, so we do the final vote. The jury, we're in the Amazon. Jury votes. Jeff tallies the votes. He says, before he reads them off, he says, we're going to do this in the United States, and I'll see you there. He exits out a back door, heads to what I'm assuming is the ocean. It could be the river, I don't know.
It is a big river.
A titular river.
I'm not here to talk geography. And he hops on a ski-doo, and he rides off into the night.
Which, to you and Adam's credit,
We call
the ski.
We call that. And then we have a day sequence. It went from night to day, and we have the clouds and everything, and then it's Jeff cruising into New York City.
He passes a big boat.
He did pass a big boat, and everybody was waving at him while he was on the ski-doo. And he, cruises into the Hudson Bay, and he stops in front of the Statue of Liberty.
Pays his respects to Lady Liberty.
Yeah, we are in a post 9/11 world. He pays his respects, and he makes his way. He makes his way to the subway.
Yes, which I forget who, but some Twitter user did make it known that the really odd sequence of Jeff riding on the subway, first barely making it in the door to the subway, And then writing it was removed from the sequence on CBS All Access, so we found it on YouTube. Thank you to that Twitter hero. Carry on.
Yeah, so then he rides the subway, gets off, and he makes his way to the... I forget the name of the theater. It's where Letterman...
It was
Yeah.
Ed Sullivan.
Ed
Theater.
Sullivan
Theater, yeah.
And
And then, there you go. But
So you made a comment that you think that they cut out the sequence because they lost the rights to the people, the releases for the people that were on the subway.
it could have been.
The implication of that is that they filmed that like Jeff is waiting outside the subway doors, waiting for them to start closing,
Yeah.
and then runs to them. It's not a staged thing.
It could be.
Honestly, that is my favorite thought in the world. That a camera crew and Jeff Probst carrying a basket with the votes in it is just standing outside the subway doors,
Okay.
waiting to run to it.
Any minute now.
also they've got a camera on the subway.
Right.
So, like,
if he misses
What
it.
if you got in the wrong car?
That's a good point. These are the questions that we need to know the answers
Yes.
to.
Yeah, Jeff, come on. What are you afraid to come on the show?
Yeah, Jeff Probst, come on Outwatch.
You won't.
He won't. He definitely won't. That just about does it for our Amazon coverage. Yes, the photos are back.
Yeah, this happened last
It
time.
did.
Same photos, y'all.
Do you still have like a baby picture up here? Yes.
It's not baby, it's preteen.
That is me
I was gonna
saying,
say,
in 2 years, I will
Too
beat you
generous.
at Fantasy Survivor.
This season was a weird one, and honestly, like, this is a season that is like well regarded, right? By like most rankings, it's top 10. Both of the ones we're looking at here have it as number 7 all time. I don't see it. I don't see it. This is like maybe a mid-tier season for me. I get it that like,
Love it.
yeah, Rob is like a very intriguing and like magnetic personality. There's like big Survivor moments in the history of it, but like strategy and gameplay, it's like very low for everyone other than Rob. There's lots of stuff that's hard to watch, especially in a world where Survivor is post Island of the Idols and is like far more sensitive to this sort of thing now. I don't know. I didn't love it. Glad to be done with it, truthfully.
I would say of all the seasons we've done on the show, this is definitely a top 3 season for me.
Yep.
In that it's number 3.
This is a good time to break out our proprietary rankings, though. We've done 3 seasons. Pearl Islands, Cagayan, and Amazon. Adam, if you're to rank the 3, what order would you put them in?
Cagayan, Pearl Islands, Amazon.
Emily?
I would say the same thing. This one's definitely number 3.
Yeah.
For
Right.
sure.
It's number 5 if I could do that, but I...
Yeah. I think Pearl Islands I loved because it was our first season, and also that's the one that I have the most memory of watching. When I
Right,
was
there's a
younger.
nostalgia to it.
Yeah.
So it has those factors, but in terms of gameplay, it's probably number 2.
Cagayan was just so good for
Yeah.
gameplay.
Yeah, Cagayan was like, it was just a really fun season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of big personalities, so it was very memorable. And I agree with you guys. I think this is definitely probably the third of the 3 that we've done so far.
Yeah, I would co-sign that. Cagayan may be my favorite season of all time.
Yeah.
It's just so fun.
It's going to be a tough one to beat.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
What I appreciate about Cagayan now, too, having watched some of these older ones, is that it has a lot of the elements of a really good old school season, where it's like a final 2, and like there's tons of idols and advantages, but you feel like the winners and the people that make it deep aren't there because they just like maneuver the like advantage realm so that they get there. Lots of great like story and survival stuff going on too. Loved Cagayan. Glad to be done with Amazon. Looking at wedding photos on the screen. Any closing thoughts for the Amazon before we talk about what's coming up next for Outwatch?
Glad it's done.
What's next?
First of all, Scott, congratulations formally on your
Well
championship.
done. Congrats.
Scott will receive a Zeta Pledge crown and will get the 3rd pick in next season's draft.
Now everyone can stop saying that it's rigged because
It's rigged. The next Survivor season we're going to watch is Survivor Millennials versus Gen X. This is season 33, so this is a more recent one. This is the most recent one we've seen yet. This is one of I would say this is my favorite season of the 30s. This one or David versus Goliath are both very good, but I think this one edges it out for me. Scott, you watched this one, didn't you?
I started it.
Okay.
We may have to RN Jesus because
Okay.
I think I know who wins.
Okay.
So I will RN Jesus.
Scott's gonna claim RN Jesus.
I don't know anything else about the season.
Okay.
But I'll
so this is Survivor getting into an era where it's not about the location, it's about the novelty
Correct.
of who's playing.
Yeah, this is in the Fiji era. So I'm trying to think. I think 33 is the first one where they set up shop in Fiji for the foreseeable future. So I think from Millennials versus Gen X on, they're in the same series of beaches and islands. And the theme changes based on like a theme rather than a location. Yeah.
Did they feel like Gen X was more of an adversary than like Boomers, or did they think the Boomers couldn't keep up?
Boomers just probably couldn't keep up. Can you imagine Millennials versus Boomers?
Versus Boomers.
It'd be too bad that it wasn't like during the OK Boomer.
Right.
I will say, like, my knowledge of this season coming up is I think they picked as stereotypic of the generation as they possibly could.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Not in a good way.
Can't wait.
I feel like they would have to in order to like really, because the whole point of this next season that we're doing is it's the novelty of who's playing, so you have to like really hit those.
And we are a room full of millennials, so I feel like it's gonna go well.
Yeah. Why I loved this season was this is one of the best casted seasons, I think, of this era. There's like tons of just really fun, entertaining, like well-casted people on the show. I think the gameplay is at a really, really high level. And I really do think the theme works really well. A lot of these like thematic themes in this era, some of them are like big swings and misses. The worst of all probably being heroes versus healers versus hustlers.
No.
What?
Yeah,
That's a real one. That's a real theme.
It was a real one. It was a
What does that mean? Is it doctors? Are there
don't-
just doctors and nurses on the healers team?
Hold on, I'm gonna have to find the
It's
examples.
it's police officers and firefighters and the heroes, and then it's doctors and nurses and the healers.
It's very ambiguous,
And like
Stockbrokers and the
ambulance
hustlers.
drivers.
yeah, it's people with a side hustle.
All those high school girls that do like this, like the pyramid scheme.
Yeah.
Okay, the
MLMs.
people on the healers tribe, here are their professions. They were a social worker, a nurse practitioner, a physical therapist, a wilderness therapy guide, a probation officer, and a urologist.
I bet the PT one.
I lost. What was that category?
That was the healers.
The PT definitely.
The heroes
It's on the nose, right?
were an Olympian, an NFL player, a firefighter, a lifeguard, an actuary,
An actuary. Oh my.
and a marine. And our hustlers were a diversity advocate, a small business owner, a celebrity assistant, a fisherman, a surf instructor, and a bellhop.
Okay.
It's a bad theme.
So that's
Those are
Hustlers
very
are just
vague.
people with normal jobs.
I feel like they needed another H word, and they were like, I don't know, hustlers. We've probably already done something with hippies, so we can't do that.
There was one. It was was this Worlds Apart? It was Worlds Apart, where it was white collar, blue collar, no collar. When you hear Jeff talk about these things, it's hilarious because he like buys into them so fully, and everyone else is like, "What are you talking about?" So anyway, Millennials vs. Gen X is next. I'm really excited for this one. We may have a special mini-series in the meantime, TBD. And also you can be on the lookout for a special one-off podcast I did with friend of the show, Elizabeth, where we draft our all-time Survivor era's tribes for a theoretical season where we split into 4 tribes from each series of 10 episodes and picked who we think would best represent each era. Making our final cut for the seasons 1 through 10 era were 2 people from this season we just watched, in Rob and Queena.
Queena.
So
She should have been named, and who deserved to be sitting there?
there's a little spoiler for the next episode. Thank you for listening to our recap of Survivor the Amazon.
Wait, who got the most MVPs?
Oh, great question. Well, we didn't name one for this finale. I assume that Jenna could
yeah.
probably
She'll just
receive
win
them.
She got $1 million. She doesn't need an MVP. I vote Matt.
Excluding this last episode, Matthew and Rob both had 10 MVPs.
How much does Jenna have?
5.
Man, we
How
really
many did
did
Dina
not
get?
give Jenna much credit. Like
Dina had 8 in way fewer episodes.
Yeah,
in
With
way
nails.
fewer
She
episodes.
dominated the
Yeah,
early
she
part
did.
of the
She
year.
wins.
Yeah.
It's just like
Gone too soon.
I'm really blown away by these stats. I'm like, this is really getting to me. That like, it just
Makes
like,
you really question our inherent biases, huh?
Yeah, like
Yes.
why? Like we need our fans to keep us honest because
Yes. Without spoiling.
you can spoil stuff. It's fine. Just
I
do it
guess I
before
get
the
the
draft,
emails,
so that
so.
way.
All right, thank you for listening, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.